The day Jenna told me she was pregnant, my whole world froze. We were sitting in my car, parked outside her apartment. She looked nervous, her legs kept bouncing, her fingers picking at the hem of her sweatshirt. I thought she was going to tell me she wanted to break up. But instead, she blurted it out in a shaky breath, "Tyler, I'm pregnant." At first, I thought I misheard her. I stared at her, waiting for the punchline, but it never came. Her eyes welled up, and she added, "It's yours. I think." That last word, think, burned into my brain like acid. I was 26, working at a graphic design agency in downtown Austin, Texas. Jenna was 24, a preschool teacher. We'd been together for nearly 8 months. Things had started off as fun, bar hopping, weekend road trips, late-night burgers and Netflix marathons. I thought we had something real. But I also knew we had problems. Jenna had a past. She had a complicated relationship with her ex, Mason, a musician who still lived in the same building as her. She told me she was over him, that their breakup was messy but final. I believed her because I wanted to. I ignored the red flags. The way her face changed whenever his name popped up in our conversations. The fact that she still kept some of his stuff in a box under her bed. The way her mood shifted when she got random late-night texts she never let me see. Now, with her sitting in my passenger seat, telling me she was pregnant and not 100% sure I was the father, it all came crashing down. I didn't yell. I didn't cry. I just sat there in stunned silence while she explained. "I'm sorry, Tyler. I didn't mean for this to happen. It was before you and I got serious. I wasn't even sure if I should tell you, but I didn't want to lie." "Are you saying you slept with him?" I asked, my throat dry. She nodded slowly. "It was one night. I was drunk. It meant nothing. But it was around the same time you and I started seeing each other." I clenched the steering wheel. The leather groaned under my grip. "You told me you were done with him." "I was. I am. Tyler, it was before I knew what we were. Before I realized how much I loved you." I laughed bitterly. "You love me? And you're telling me you might be carrying another man's baby?" Tears spilled down her cheeks. "I don't know what else to say. I took a test today. I found out this morning. I couldn't sleep until I told you. I wanted to drive away. I wanted to scream. But instead, I turned off the engine, leaned back in my seat, and stared at the ceiling. After a long silence, I said, "What do you want to do?" She wiped her nose and looked at me. "I don't know. I want to keep it. I'm scared, but I don't believe in, ending it. But I need to know if it's yours." "How do we even do that?" "There's a prenatal paternity test. But it's expensive." Of course it was. We sat in silence for what felt like hours. Finally, I got out and walked her to her apartment. I didn't kiss her goodnight. For the next 2 days, I ghosted her. I couldn't think, couldn't eat. I didn't tell anyone, not even my best friend Liam. I just kept picturing her with Mason. Her body next to his. And now, a baby. Maybe mine. Maybe his. Then, one evening, she showed up at my apartment unannounced. Her face was pale, and her hands were shaking. "I made the appointment," she said. "For the test. I'll pay for it. I need you to come with me." Against my better judgment, I agreed. The clinic was sterile and cold. Jenna held my hand the whole time, her grip tight and trembling. I could feel how scared she was, how vulnerable. The test involved drawing her blood and getting a sample from me. It would take about a week to get the results. When we walked out, she looked up at me and asked, "Can I stay with you tonight? I don't want to be alone." I should have said no. But I nodded. That night, we lay in bed, not talking. She cried softly beside me. I wrapped an arm around her, not because I had forgiven her, but because I hated seeing her like that. In the days that followed, something strange happened. We started talking again. About everything, her fears, my doubts, our broken trust. We didn't try to fix it, we just spoke. One night, while watching reruns of Friends, she rested her head on my chest and whispered, "If it's not yours, I understand if you walk away. But if it is, Tyler, I want to raise this baby with you. I want to build something real." I didn't say anything. I just held her tighter. The week crawled by like molasses. When the call finally came, I picked up while pacing around my office. "Mr. Matthews," the nurse said. "We have the results of your paternity test. You are the biological father." My knees buckled. I had to sit down. It was mine. Suddenly, the whirlwind of doubt shifted to something else, fear, yes, but also, something warm. A tiny spark of joy. I was going to be a father. I rushed to Jenna's place and told her. She broke into tears, happy ones this time, and hugged me so tight I could barely breathe. But our troubles weren't over. A few days later, Mason showed up. I was at Jenna's place, helping her set up a meal plan when someone pounded on the door. She opened it, and there he was. Tall, dark-haired, with that cocky musician vibe I always hated. "You didn't tell me you were pregnant," he barked. Jenna froze. "How did you find out?" "Your friend Emily told me. Said she saw you crying in the hallway." "You told her everything." I stepped in front of her. "She's not yours." He glared at me. "This isn't your business." "The hell it isn't. We got the test done. It's mine." He looked stunned for a second, then smirked. "Figures. She always runs to the next guy when things get rough." "Leave," I said, my voice low. He ignored me and turned to Jenna. "You sure about this? You really want to have his baby? What happened to us?" "There is no us," she said. Her voice cracked, but her eyes were firm. Mason scoffed and walked away. That night, I saw a side of Jenna I hadn't seen before. Strong. Determined. She cried, yes, but she also held her head high. And for the first time in weeks, I let myself believe in us again. As the months went by, things began to heal. We went to doctor's appointments together. We picked out baby names. We painted the nursery in soft greens and yellows. I still had moments of doubt, moments when I remembered the way she broke my trust, but I reminded myself that people make mistakes. And sometimes, they grow from them. One night, during her 6th month, I proposed. It wasn't fancy, just us on the balcony, watching the sunset. I held out a small silver ring and said, "I want us to be a family. For real." She cried and said yes. The day our daughter was born, everything changed. Jenna screamed through 14 hours of labor. I never left her side. When the baby finally came, a tiny, red-faced miracle with a full head of dark hair, I held her in my arms and knew that nothing else mattered. Not Mason. Not the past. Not the doubt. She was ours. We named her Lily Grace. 3 years have passed since that day. Jenna and I got married in a small backyard ceremony. Liam was my best man. Jenna's sister walked her down the aisle. We've had fights, sure. We've struggled. But we've also laughed, loved, and built something beautiful. Lily just turned 3. She loves peanut butter sandwiches, dinosaurs, and curling up on my chest for bedtime stories. Every time I look at her, I remember the chaos, the heartbreak, the fear. And I remember how love, real, messy, painful love, pulled us through. So yeah, my girlfriend was pregnant for me, and for a moment, I didn't know if I was the father. But now. Now I'm the proudest dad in the world. And I wouldn't change a thing. Things were calm for a while after Lily turned 3. Maybe too calm. Jenna had settled into motherhood beautifully. Watching her with Lily sometimes made me forget everything we had gone through. She had this way of singing songs with hand movements, making silly voices for story time, and braiding Lily's hair in the morning before preschool. I would come home from work and find them dancing barefoot in the living room or baking cookies together. Our apartment always smelled like vanilla and laughter. But beneath the peace, cracks were forming. I had started putting in extra hours at work. With rent rising and daycare costs going up, I took on freelance projects in the evenings, sometimes even overnight. I was tired all the time. Jenna noticed. "You never sit down anymore," she said one night while I was glued to my laptop on the couch. "You're missing everything." "I'm doing it for you," I said, not looking up. "For Lily. We don't need more money, Tyler. We need you." I closed my laptop slowly. "I'm trying to make sure we're secure. I don't want us to go back to how things were before." She stared at me for a long moment. "Before what? Before I got pregnant? Before you didn't trust me?" I froze. It was the first time in years that either of us brought that up directly. "I didn't mean it like that," I said quickly. But it was too late. The memory of it, all the doubt, the anger, the paternity test, hung in the room like smoke. Jenna walked into the bedroom and closed the door. That night, I slept on the couch. A week passed. Then 2. We were speaking, but not really talking. We were coexisting, orbiting around Lily but growing colder by the day. I hated it. I missed her. I missed us. Then came the message that tore the wound wide open again. It was a random Tuesday evening. Jenna's phone buzzed while she was in the shower. I wouldn't have looked, but the name that flashed across the screen made my stomach twist: Mason. The message read, "Still thinking about you. You don't belong with him." I stared at it for a long moment, not knowing whether to scream or cry. When Jenna came out of the bathroom, I was sitting on the edge of the bed, her phone in my hand. She paused. Her eyes darted from my face to the phone. "What is this?" I asked, holding it up. Her face turned pale. "Tyler. Don't lie to me, Jenna. You promised you were done with him." "I am done with him. He just won't stop texting." "I haven't replied." "You can check." I scrolled. She was telling the truth. There were a few messages from him, but none from her. No replies. "Why didn't you tell me?" I asked quietly. "Because I knew you'd overreact." "That's not fair." She walked over and sat beside me. "Tyler, I love you. I've only ever loved you. Mason was a mistake. A ghost from my past that I've tried so hard to bury. Please don't let him ruin what we have." I stared at the floor, my heart pounding. "I want to believe you," I said. "But every time I see his name, I feel like I'm back in that car, hearing you say you think it's mine." "I know," she whispered. "And I hate that I hurt you. But Tyler, we've come so far. We've built a family. Please don't let him take that from us." I looked into her eyes and saw tears there. Real ones. And suddenly, I remembered the pain in her face the night she told me she was pregnant. The way she begged me to believe in her. And how she never ran, even when it got hard. I dropped the phone on the bed and pulled her into my arms. "I'm sorry. I've been distant. I miss you." She pressed her face to my neck and whispered, "Then let's fix this. Together." That night, we talked for hours. Really talked. About our fears, our dreams, even about having another baby someday. We made love slowly, like it was the first time again. And when I fell asleep with her curled beside me, I felt like the weight on my chest had finally lifted. But life wasn't done testing us. 2 months later, Jenna fainted while picking Lily up from preschool. I rushed to the ER, heart pounding. When I saw her lying in the hospital bed, pale and hooked up to monitors, I thought I was going to lose my mind. "It's just exhaustion," the doctor said. "But we ran some tests, and there's something else. Congratulations, you're pregnant." I blinked. "Come again." "She's about 5 weeks along." I sat down, hard. Jenna looked just as shocked as I was. We hadn't been trying. We'd only just started getting back on solid ground. Once the initial shock wore off, joy followed. Lily was over the moon when we told her she was going to be a big sister. She immediately started drawing pictures of Baby Bean and taping them to the fridge. But the joy didn't last. At 10 weeks, during a routine scan, the doctor grew quiet. Too quiet. "I'm seeing something unusual," he said, turning the screen away. "We'll need to run more tests." The results came a week later. There were complications. A rare genetic condition. They weren't sure how serious it would be yet, but the baby's development might be affected. Heart issues. Lung formation delays. There was a chance the baby wouldn't survive after birth. Jenna broke down. I held her as she sobbed in my arms. "I can't do this," she whispered. "I'm not strong enough." "Yes, you are," I said, kissing her forehead. "We'll do this together." The months that followed were a blur of doctor visits, second opinions, sleepless nights, and fear. We didn't tell many people. Only Liam, who offered to drive us when I couldn't. And Jenna's sister, who flew in for a month to help. One night, as I watched Jenna sleep with her belly gently rising and falling under the covers, I whispered, "Please stay with me. Both of you." And maybe someone up there heard me. Because at 36 weeks, we made it. Our second daughter, Sophie Hope, was born under a team of surgeons and specialists. She was tiny. Barely breathing. But she was alive. The NICU became our second home. We lived hour by hour. But slowly, Sophie began to breathe on her own. Eat on her own. Open her eyes. It took nearly 6 weeks before we could bring her home. And the day we did, Lily made a welcome home banner with crayons and glitter. Jenna and I stood in the nursery, watching our 2 daughters, and she turned to me with tears in her eyes. "We made it," she whispered. I pulled her close and said, "We always will." Looking back now, I still remember the pain. The betrayal. The doubt. But I also remember the fight. The love. The way we refused to give up on each other. I was once afraid that the baby growing inside Jenna wasn't mine. Now I wake up every morning to 2 beautiful daughters who call me daddy and a wife who proved to me that love, no matter how messy, is worth the fight. And that's all that matters.